Hey, what's going on, guys? Lionsden here. I have not put out a video in a long time. Put out plenty of shorts, but not a video. So tonight, feel like it was well needed and necessary to put out a good video, and I know exactly what kind of video I wanted to put out because I just came across this kind of not really mind blowing, but very important uh, piece of information that I came across today, which I thought was very interesting. And that was me basically asking AI um, what it thought of the very common objections towards the Bible that you get from people who are, kind of more secular or maybe even come from other religions where they say, the Bible can't be trusted because it's been translated so many different times. We can't trust it to be true. That kind of thing. You've heard it before. You've been you've been out and about and heard people who claim to be smart try to make a statement like that, or give the narrative of, oh, it's been translated in so many different times in order that the government might gain more control over the people. So that's kind of what, not necessarily me myself, and am I going to tackle today, but AI is actually what's going to answer those questions. Um, so you can do exactly what I'm doing on your own, whether you do it on Grok or ChatGPT or Venice or some other sort of AI system. And you can see for yourself that secular science agrees with the kind of thesis and statement that we're trying to make, which is the English translation of the Bible we have today is the equal, uh, it's the equal writing of what the 66 books of the Bible were in their original mother tongue. It's just translated into English, you know. Um, so that's kind of what we're going to be tackling today. A lot of people are under the kind of misconception that it was written in Hebrew or Greek or Aramaic, and then it was translated over to Latin, and then it was translated to French and German and English, and so therefore, because of all these translations, we have lost the meaning of the Bible, or lost some words that were taken out of context and their original form meant something completely different. And so the question that I'm asking ChatGPT is, got it written down here. So, how accurate is the current English Bible compared to the original writings in their mother tongue language? You can ask this same exact question to whatever AI you come up with to kind of tag along, or you can just listen to me. But I'm going to give you word for word what Grok told me. So Grok's answer was the accuracy of modern English Bibles compared to the original Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek texts varies significantly depending on which English translation you're using and what you mean by quote unquote accurate. So what is that telling us? It means the accuracy is dependent upon, what translation you're looking at and what exactly you mean by accurate. Um, Accurate definition being the most important here. So a question that Grok asked and then answered in order to kind of reword the question a bit so it could give a more, I guess, accurate answer was, how close are the best modern translations to the original texts? So it took my question and redirected it into, how close are the best modern translations to the original texts, which is a far superior way of asking that question than how I did. And its answer was, for the very best manuscripts we have today, in the Old Testament, written in Hebrew and Aramaic, we have the Masoretic texts, CA 900 to 1000. We have the Dead Sea Scrolls, 3rd century BC to 1st century AD. We have a Septuagint, which is a Greek translation, 3rd to 2nd century BC. We have the Dead Sea Scrolls, proved to the Masoretic text, and is remarkably accurate. So these are remarkably accurate and over 95 to 99% identical in most books, with almost all differences being between spelling or minor wording. All right, and then for the New Testament in Greek, we have over 5,800 Greek manuscripts plus tens of thousands of early translations and quotations. Greek was the language of the New Testament, right? During that era, the Roman Empire ruled around that area, around what they called Asia, and Asia Minor and Asia Major, and also around like actual Greece and Italy. But the major language of Rome was obviously Latin, but the major trade language was Greek. So that's why they wrote the New Testament in Greek, all right? Because that would have been like everybody would have spoke Greek, right? So it would have been easily translatable and therefore easy to give and to understand. So back to the answer, New Testament Greek, we have over 5,800 Greek manuscripts plus tens of thousands of early translations and quotations. The two most widely used critical texts today, Nestle Aland 28th, UBS 5th, and the 10th, and the Textus Receptus / majority text, agree 98 to 99% of the time. The remaining differences are almost entirely spelling, word order, or minor synonyms. Almost nothing affects core doctrine. So let's read that again. Almost nothing affects core doctrine. And what's the result? When a translation like the NASB, ESV, or LSB, again, this is Grok's words, not mine. When a translation like the NASB, ESV, or LSB says it is translating from, quote, the original languages, it is working from the texts that are extremely close to what the biblical authors actually wrote. And then the last thing it says, bottom line answers. If you pick a major formal equivalence translation based on modern critical texts, in quotation, NASB, ESV, CSB, LSB, NET, end quote, you're reading something that is 99% plus faithful to the original wording and meaning of the Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek texts we possess. So what's the moral of the story? The moral of the story is whenever somebody says, oh, they translated it so many times that it's lost its meaning and we don't know what the Bible really means, and therefore anything, first of all, the first thing that person said, they're speaking out of the side of their mouth, because modern day science literally says otherwise, right? Secular AI would say otherwise. And where is secular AI getting their information from? They're getting their information from secular science, archaeology, history, historians and archaeologists who have been working on this stuff for thousands of years. And they know what they know. And no modern day archaeologist / historian that's worth his weight is going to argue that we don't have the modern translation right from the original Hebrew, Greek, and Aramaic languages. So the reason why I brought that is a lot of times people will say this. For example, I have loved ones who say this kind of stuff all the time. It's like, because we've lost the translations and because everything was translated into English or German or French or whatever, then it's lost its actual meaning. And no, it's not. The meaning has always been that God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever should believe in him shall not perish but have eternal life. And it's through Jesus Christ. And he is the only way, truth, and life. And that's how it's always been. That's been the entire, from Genesis to Malachi, Matthew to Revelation, reason for the Bible. Jesus is the Old Testament Messiah that came and his own people murdered him. And then he rose on the third day, and now he's seated at the right hand of God, and soon he will return. So just wanted to give this quick video to you guys to maybe, have a fighting chance against people who are just so convinced that they know that the Bible is wrong because of translation errors. Yeah, I'm done.